From beautiful Brisbane, Australia. How are you this morning? Have you had a great weekend? It's Monday morning here at Recovery to Remission, and it's great to be able to speak again. Sorry I had to have a couple of days off to recover from the flu, but we all know what it's like. I hope you're doing really well. This morning, I'd like to talk to you. We're going to talk about a couple of different things, all related. We're going to talk about whether we're being able to identify whether whether we're rejecting or whether we're reclaiming our whole full self. Now, I want you to remember that with complex PTSD, it's like all these little pieces need to come together. And this information may help you put some pieces together, and then it may help somebody do another set of pieces together. It's all so individual as to the information that we need. So if you're here this morning, welcome. And if you're here for the first time, it's great to have you with me. Remember, if you're on Facebook, hit like so that you know when I go live. And if you're on YouTube, hit subscribe. And then you'll know when all the latest videos are out. And I really appreciate your support. And remember that the videos on YouTube are now in playlists as well to make it a heck of a lot easier. Because we're just about to hit 300 videos as well. So I appreciate and value you, and I'm so glad to hear when this helps, because so much of this information hasn't been available. Okay, so when we talk about self-rejection, oftentimes we don't want to actually think about it. When I began reading about this, I was like, why would I reject myself? So I began asking questions. So that's one of the best places we can be when we're recovering from trauma and complex trauma, is to be curious, to begin asking those questions and examining our internal dialogue, examining what we're showing the world, being prepared to look at where we've got our mask on. That's definitely a big one. And so some of the obvious forms, the external, obvious forms of self-rejection are things like self-harm, all right, which has become something that's common amongst younger people as well. I'm not saying it's not common amongst older people, but it's been brought to our awareness in the younger generations. Alcohol and drugs used to be something that were to cover up, it still is, oh my goodness, Monday morning-itis is a common form of rejecting ourselves, and it can be hard to identify that, especially in Australia when we have a drinking culture, to identify when we're using alcohol or drugs to reject what's happening internally for us. So it's like we're compressing the layer upon layer upon layer internally and using other substances to make sure that we keep all those emotions down, because we may not have language for them. We may not have been raised in families where we're allowed to, well, first of all, not only are we weren't allowed to talk about our emotions, but we were raised in families that had no language around our emotions. Hi, great to see you here. It's Monday morning. And unhealthy eating. So it's not, just only ever eating an unhealthy diet. It's the fact that we continually choose to put food in our body that's not going to sustain us for a very long life, okay? Hanging around with unhealthy people. We definitely need to be aware when we're hanging around with people who aren't proactive in life, who don't have even though I'm going through a really hard time, I'm going to do the best I can to work with what I've got in order to break through as well. So some of the subtle forms of self-rejection are having a resignation and not pursuing our greatest ambitions. So even when our greatest ambitions are just pie-in-the-sky dreams, and believe me, one of my biggest dreams is pie in the sky and has been for a couple of decades. But as I've worked towards it, so much has changed in that period of time that, you know, now I'm able to get on here and share information with you. Now I'll be able to share my course with people around the world instead of just teaching it in-house. There is so much that changes along the path to our dream that makes it become even more possible and not just feasible. It builds this great passion into our lives as well that we keep pursuing. And that's good to make us feel whole and filled as well. So if you're not pursuing a great ambition, and remember, great ambition looks different for all of us. One of my greatest ambitions when I was younger was to be a mum. I really, really wanted to be a mum. And so I continue to do that alongside the things that I really have on my heart to do as well. So another way that we can be rejecting ourselves is remaining in relationships or jobs that are stagnant. So you're not growing, you're not having that healthy input, you're not persisting in where you want to go. You've dropped the dream, okay? Just put it in the basket over there. Don't do that for you, okay? Honour what you're feeling. Honour that you want more. Honour that it's okay to want more as well. I know for previous generations we've grown up with the mentality, and the workforce used to be that you get into one job and you stay in that job for the rest of your life, okay? It used to be like that, especially in my grandparents' and parents' generation. It's not like that anymore. We've become aware that we need more than just one job for 30 years and to, poodle along. For some people, that's okay, all right? But for others of us, we continue to pursue what an even bigger picture for ourselves. So don't, if you're stuck in a rut, don't give up, all right? Start honouring how you feel and be around people who are proactive and want more out of life, all right? They want to leave a legacy, or they want to be able to have input into the direction of their life instead of coming out of families and having to live the same type of life. All right, so we can also be rejecting ourselves when we turn down or miss out on various life opportunities. So if opportunities are coming your way and you're saying no, 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 sit down and look at the pattern and ask yourself, where do I need to step up and take a risk? All right, trauma stops us from stepping up and taking a risk, all right? That's the internal dialogue. But once we know that, we then step up and go, damn it, I'm going to take a risk. And I just did this on the weekend myself, all right? I realised that even though all my dreams have taken so long, I realised that I hadn't put them on the shelf, but I began to think, oh, this just isn't going to happen. And I went, no. We don't do this. It's in my heart and it's so solid. We keep going, all right? So keep pursuing, keep putting one foot in front of the other, and we do get there. So don't, in another way, it's not just self-rejection, it's self-sabotage as well. Okay, we can have self-punishing mental habits like perfectionism, and definitely when we come out of complex trauma, one of the things we do have is perfectionism on our back, because it was one way in our childhood of being safe. Perfectionism in my life was also another way of trying to gain approval, attention. So I was an A-grade student, and my brother wasn't, because he had a whole bunch of other problems. And my mother actually said to me one day, look, you need to stop coming out and saying, oh, look, I got 10 out of 10 for this, or I've done this, or I've excelled at this, because your brother's not like that. I can't remember her exact words, but it was like, oh, wow. So because he's sitting here and having to learn and I'm excelling, I have to go and hide. It's like, oh, man. It's like we needed balanced parenting where, for my kids, I raised them that they're all unique and different and they'll each have a different passion. And I was just saying the other day, my eldest son has found his groove and he is absolutely passionate about his job. My daughter knows what hers is. Yeah, my youngest is working towards it as well. He's starting to put framework around his life. If we can do that and we set our kids up to pursue that and they are happy in the jobs that they're in, wow, what a whole difference life will make. So don't let things like perfectionism ruin your life. Just don't. Get off the perfectionism and go, life's messy. Life is a beautiful, beautiful mess. And when we look at it like that, we begin to be able to go, right, it's okay to make mistakes, because from the mistakes I'm going to learn, I'm going to grow, I'm going to understand things at a deeper level in order that I can help other people as well. So let's make a beautiful mess and get on with it. Okay, so another way we can be rejecting ourselves is opting for instant gratification to avoid short-term discomfort. Okay, so instead of saying, right, I'm going to persist at what I'm doing, and look, one of the most obvious signs of this in today's world is parenthood. All right, parenthood, we have to have a long-term vision. All right, we cannot go for the short-term goals of appeasing a teenager. We can't. We have to maintain our structure. We have to be willing to be seen as the bad parent during teenagehood, because we're letting them, branch out, but we're also saying, well, these are the structures we need as well for your own health. And then when they get into the next stage of adulthood, they're like, oh, wow, yeah, Mum, thank you. That's when they get to the thank you bit. But if we can't do that, if we look for the instant gratification of, I'm just going to, ditch the structure and just be their bestie, it won't work, and it's not good for their mental and emotional health either, okay? We have to be willing to not go for instant gratification and keep pursuing a bigger vision for our children, all right? Now, that'll apply to our lives, it applies to our family, it applies to our job. We have to be willing to have a bigger vision to work towards. Otherwise, what are we working towards? Why would we get out of bed the next day and go, right, we're taking one more step, all right? So if you find that you're rejecting yourself on this level, what are we going to do? Okay, so I sat down and I went, what are some ways that we can begin to identify when we're ignoring ourselves emotionally? Where we've just got, I'm so sorry. I promise I'm getting better. Ways that we can begin to feel passionate. Again, ways that we can let our emotions up and take risks. Safe risks, okay? All right, so we want to befriend our emotions. We want to get raw and real and honest and recognize when we feel that we're being oppressed or we're oppressing ourselves. All right, and I know I did this for a lot of years, not knowing or understanding that my emotions were valid and I needed to let them up and I needed to begin to pursue. What I looked for was other people's approval. I didn't know this, mind you. And so when I didn't get it, I'd rebel with the cause. I'd still go and pursue what I needed to do, but I just wouldn't talk about it to the people in my life back then, because they had no awareness that I wanted a bigger life than what we were living, all right? And that's okay, but we need to be around people who understand that we want more out of life than what life presented us with. Okay, so we want to look to our body and mind responses to help give us clues as to what our emotions are. So if we're not able to get up and do what we want to do, we want to be able to make a record of those emotions and begin to see the pattern that's happening. What is the pattern that I'm developing in order to avoid getting out and risking real life? Okay. once we can identify the pattern, then we can begin to work with breaking down that pattern and getting back to life. Journaling daily definitely helps, all right? I can't emphasize enough how much journaling every single day from years ago has helped me to identify what was happening internally for me. Then the next thing you can do, apart from journaling, and look, make a set time each night. Put your alarm on for when you want to do journaling, and head off to your trauma coach or a therapist and get a neurobiological understanding of what's happening, because a lot of what happens for us too with complex trauma is we need to get back in touch with our body and begin to be able to feel what's happening at our physical level as well. Okay, it's been great to be back with you this morning. Have a most wonderful day. Remember to hit like if you're on Facebook to get the latest, to get alerted when I come live. YouTube, hit subscribe and let me know if you need any further information and I will definitely help you out. Have the most gorgeous day and I'll be back tomorrow morning with more information. Hi Nashone, and Diana said, you helped me so much to identify my feelings. That's awesome, Diana. That's awesome. What did you say? Yeah, bad parent for a while, then finally they get it. Thank us. It was all worth it. Yeah, that's right. They do. I'm actually I'm actually interested to find out what it's going to be like when my kids have kids, and that's because I raised my kids with a generational perspective of, okay, because my mum's deceased as well. So I said, this is what happened for me when I was a kid. This is how I've raised you. So I raised them all with emotional intelligence, able to identify what's happening for them internally. And then I taught them how to work with that as well. So they're very internally aware kids. And then I said to them, now take what I've done to advance the generations, and then there's so much more information available on parenting today. All right, there are apps galore. Like when my girlfriend had her baby girl, my godchild, there's an app that tells you like every stage of developmental stage the child's at, what they're going to be coming into, and like from the brain level and everything, and if they're not doing this, what can happen. And I just said, you take this information, so you take the good things from what I've done, use that, throw the rest out, and then you say, right, I'm going to take all the new information that we've got available in the world, and then I'm going to parent my children even more effectively than my mum was able to, okay? And this is how we make conscious choices for the future for our kids and our grandkids. And so when my kids do have kids, and I'm a grandmother, what I'll be doing is looking at all the latest information so that I can help with all of the new stuff as well. So it's not a case of me going, well, my kids have to raise their kids the same as me or it's not good enough. That's just crazy thinking. I have to be willing to continue to grow and change even when I'm a grandmother, and who knows, great-grandmother, that's decades away, but that may never happen. But I have to have that willingness to learn, because there are so many more new ways, so many more. And we've got to be willing to do this in our families. I mean, imagine what it'd be like for our kids if we didn't. Then we'd be treating our kids when they have kids, we'd be treating them like our parents treated us, that this is the only way that you do it. And then we're going to pass down even more unresolved trauma in the generations to come. Nope, not participating in that. Not me. I won't do it. I'd rather, I don't know, do something drastic than not be willing to learn. And, you know, I've got 3 kids, so who are adults, but each of them will parent differently because each of them are different people, different styles. So anyhow, that was just kind of like a bit of added extra this morning. I hope that's helped give you some ideas to expand your vision for your life as well, to be aware of when you're rejecting yourself, because our emotions are like our internal GPS, where they're going to guide us, and that's where we feel passionate from our heart center. We don't feel passionate from our brain, we feel passionate deep in our heart, and we go, yeah, I want to pursue this. And can I make you aware that when we do this initially, other people will go, well, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to make sense to anybody else but you, and you know that this is right for you, this is the one next thing you have to do. And I'll support you all the way. If you know this is the one next thing you have to do, then I will be your greatest cheer squad, because I know what it's like not to have one when you're passionately pursuing your life. Okay, gang, I've got to get on and do some more work. So I will see you again tomorrow morning. Blessings and dreams, and have a gorgeous night or a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Thanks for joining in. Bye for now.